What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the J-Rock Show. I'm your host, the Cowboy J.R. Storm, joined alongside my co-host, Jason J.K. Candell. And since the guest interviews keep blowing up for y'all, we have another guest for y'all today in Beast of the East head coach Assad Drayton. Welcome to the show, Coach. How are you doing today?
Feeling a little Hollywood. I traveled all the way out to LA, helped broadcast a game, and now I'm over here with y'all. I'm feeling a little famous.
I bet you've been eating good lately, Coach. Definitely been a fun start of the SimWorld prep season. But let's keep things in SimWorld U because we know that's what we want to give the people here. Let's kick things off in Chapel Hill. One of your former beasts, Kasim Porter Jr., and UNC went down to Butler last night. 9 combined points from Kadarius Stack Jr., Kasim Porter Jr., and Sean Hyman. That freshman duo with a really concerning performance against the Bulldogs.
Sometimes when you're a freshman, those lights, even if it's a smaller team, they get really bright. Prep prepares us a lot for the travel in the away atmospheres, but it's something about those collegiate games. The fans are a little more rowdy, the chants get a little more nasty, and sometimes people act like it doesn't play a factor, but it does. And I think the freshmen got caught like deer in the headlights. I don't think this is indicative of this being a bad team or them being bad. I think this is one of those games early in the season, and I think they're going to have a couple more like this.
All right. So that begs the question for me, Coach. Do you think this Butler team, now that they're 3-0, do deserve to be in the SP Top 25?
When you look at who they beat Oklahoma. That's a strong roster. They beat UNC. That's a strong roster. I don't think immediately you put them in the top 10, but if you put them at 24, 23, 21, or even 20, I'm not batting an eye like, oh, wow, Butler won 3 games and these guys are crowning them king. No, I believe rightfully so with the teams that they've beaten and how they've played. They do deserve to be ranked. Ranked high? Probably not. Middle of the pack or bottom of the pack? I can agree to that.
All right.
You see, Butler, for me personally, I'm not ready to call them a ranked team yet because what was the final score? 68-56. They won by like 12, if memory serves. Mm-hmm. And let's be honest,
they won by 12.
North Carolina is a good team. Don't get me wrong. But to be quite frank, Butler couldn't hit shit if they fell out of a pig wagon. And so that's why, yeah, it could have been just an off shooting night for them. You could call it that. But 9 times out of 10, a team shoots like that, they're not getting the win over a quality team like North Carolina, much less even by double-digit points. But I think they kind of got helped out by the fact that really outside of Miles James, the Tar Heels were really kind of struggling to put the ball in the hole as well. But moving on.
Oh, absolutely.
Moving on to the next topic, Coach. Now, this was also a very highly anticipated matchup. Duke faced Alabama down in Tuscaloosa and managed to escape. No Childs, no problem. Strong showing from your former player, Levin Cutler. Does Duke have the depth to make noise, do you think?
I think this is a good in-conference team, but I don't see them making a deep run. I know. Everybody loves Cooper Flag. The main event, what else do they call him? The Cyborg, the Chosen One. They say raise the flag. I think because he's so dominant, he causes other of his teammates to be gun shy. And what I mean by that is, it's kind of like playing pickup ball with like a former like NBA player or like a Euro player. When you're playing with them, you're well aware that if you miss a shot, you took away a potential chance for that person to score. So it makes you a little deferent, and when you do score or when you do take shots, you have to make sure that it's the best shot, or everybody's gonna be like, "Yeah, they lost because they should have gave Cooper Flag the ball here and Cooper Flag the ball here." These are humans at the end of the day. These aren't perfect beings. They aren't making every correct pass. Every play isn't being read properly. And when that amount of pressure is put on you, similar to like playing with LeBron or Stephen Curry, it makes sometimes even good role players or players that are 1Bs or 2As, it really moves them all the way down a whole other tier because so much respect is put on Cooper Flag that when these players don't rise up, people say, "Oh, Cooper Flag's carrying the team."
Yeah, and we saw DJ Childs have a bit of a quiet night against Duke, but this Alabama team has a lot more to offer than just DJ Childs. They had a near phenomenal comeback attempt. We saw the Aiden Weaver three that if it was about half a second earlier, Alabama wins that game. What do you make of an Alabama team led by your former SimWorld Prep player, Levin Cutler, down low?
I find it ironic because Alabama runs their offense, not exactly, but I'm talking about in the same philosophy. We don't use the same scheme. We're not calling the same plays. Their college offense much more sophisticated than what we're running. But when you look at who scores and how they score and the inside out game and making sure everybody touches the ball, making sure that no possession is just an ISO and forcing everybody around them to just dribble the clock out, that people are having their head up and they're looking to see what pass they can make, and when the pass isn't there and they're forced into those one-on-one scenarios, they try and make the most of the shot opportunity.
I personally think you said it really well. I like this schematics of what Nate Oates runs down with Alabama. I think that Alabama, even with the loss, is a more talented team than Duke because I trust that starting lineup more. I don't think there's a single other player in that Duke starting lineup that I trust outside of Cooper Flag, and I think that's very indicative, Coach.
And now, Coach, several questions we kind of wanted to get to today with you. And now, we kind of spoke on Levin already, but your BOE roster from last season was home to plenty of SimWorld U talent. What have you seen from those guys at the next level, and do you keep in touch with them to this point still?
I keep in contact with everybody. I'm big on family, so everybody that's played for me is a part of my adopted family. I speak to Isaiah James probably 3 times a week. I speak to KPJ probably 4 times a week, just because he's having a harder transition than Isaiah. Isaiah knew from day one he was going to be the starter. He knew that the way he plays defense would translate very well to the collegiate level. Versus KPJ, that's a point guard, and learning a whole new offense, learning to play with a whole new group of people can sometimes be a culture shock. Then I have guys that, to me, didn't get a chance to properly shine in prep, but are getting to show what they are at the next level. Guys like DeMarco Graham, who's really solid for Louisville. You have guys like Cuddy Zoe, who unfortunately didn't get to play his senior year with BOE, but is doing solid at Rutgers. I think when, and I don't want to toot my own horn, but I think when you talk about a program that tried to get all of their guys into the best possible destination, along with getting several guys into the more blue-blooded schools, Beast of the East was the place to be.
Definitely, Coach, but I kind of want to dive into your backstory a little bit. Who is your coaching inspiration, and are there any SimWorld U coaches that you really truly idolize?
I'm from a long line coaching tree. I don't even think like the original guy that taught my coach. Probably his games were televised in black and white. I try not to idolize men. That's something I probably would never say. Oh, I idolize this person. I'll say I look up to, or I have a high respect for the Coach Pillardis, the Coach Myra Murrays, the Grease Williams, and even Skinny Washington. These are guys that when I first came in, I kind of leaned on to help understand how the prep game goes. Because when you go from coaching normal high school, where all your games are within maybe a 25-mile radius, in prep you literally could have a game one day in Richmond, Virginia, and at the end of the week you're in Los Angeles, and a few days after that you're in Mexico.
It's pretty insane. I just want to follow up that. Um, in terms of SimWorld U coaches, are there SimWorld U coaches that you have that high level of respect for, just like in the SimWorld prep circuit? I'm sure Coach K is one of those guys, given that you're so close to Duke, but would love to kind of hear your wisdom on that.
I mean, who doesn't love Coach K? Everybody loves Coach K. I'm in fact a big fan of Nate Oates. I mean, when you think of some of the college coaches that and how they've inspired and changed the game, I think it's always understated to try and give these guys their flowers. Because I try and run my system as close to being as complicated as something like a college system. I want to say I draw inspiration from a lot. I don't want to say it's one guy or two guys. It's a lot. But I want to say probably, and I really don't want to give him all the credit, one of the original people that I kind of adopted my philosophy from, and I call him Uncle Tony, is Tony Bennett. Tony Bennett, while he was at Virginia, he made sure that all his freshmen understood that when you're coming in, year one, you learn my system. Year two, you develop your skills. Year 3 and 4 is when you see true action on the court, unless you're phenomenal from year one. And that's something that I tried to bring in the BOE, that sometimes playing on a team, your role is bigger than just getting a bucket or being a defender. That we're here to learn and grow together.
Okay, yeah, and definitely a very unique style, but a very respectable one at that too, Coach. Now, kind of transitioning a little bit, if you had a Mount Rushmore of Beast of the East players, what would that look like to you?
By Beast of the East, do you mean guys that I've coached or all history from this team? Because that's a little different.
Guys that you've coached?
Yeah, guys that you've coached. We can keep it to that.
Okay. Mount Rushmore is usually 4, so I'll go for Reed Redmond. He's the staple, the original champion. His number is currently retired. I'll throw JoJo Kearney in there. I feel like the way he played defense was often underrated. I think a lot of people miss the truly defensive big. I'll throw Isaiah James in there. Everybody loves a good defensive guard. And I'll go with a surprise pick, and I'll say Kamarian Goodyear.
Okay. I like that.
I can get behind that.
I like that.
Well, Coach, what do you hope your current players learn from your former players who are now at the SimWorld U level?
That it costs nothing to buy in. That if you truly believe in what I'm preaching and you understand what I'm preaching, that I'm not just trying to win ball games, I'm trying to develop ball players and great men. That the goal ultimately is to win games in prep. Don't get that confused. I do believe in development first, but nobody wants to develop and lose. The goal ultimately is to win. We do all want to win, but my ultimate goal is to get everybody to the next level with the priority of getting you to a place where you fit in the best. Not the place that's the most flashy, not the place that's offering you the most, the place where you fit in best, where you can grow and shine your talents and potentially become an SWBA prospect.
Yeah, definitely, Coach. And in terms of preparing guys for that next level, are you starting to prepare your roster for the opportunities that'll come at the next level? And kind of a two-parter on that, what words of wisdom would you give players during the recruiting process?
I try and talk to my guys early and often, the seniors especially. about looking into colleges. I try and tell them to tune into every college game that you see, because how I think you fit into a team can be different than how you personally view yourself. Now, the words of wisdom that I always try and give players is go where you're celebrated, not where you're tolerated.
Amen.
And what I mean by that, what I mean by that is it's quite simple. If you go to somewhere because it's Duke or because it's UNC or Kentucky or UCLA and they tolerate your talent instead of celebrating it, you stifle your game just to have your name on a fancy jersey.
Definitely understand that, Coach. Would I kind of also a little bit of a two-parter for you. Who's your early season picks to kind of go far or win Hoopsteria this season? And on the topic of that, if you could had the opportunity to coach any player across SimWorld U that you have not coached before, who would be at the top of the list for you and why?
Okay, to answer the first question, who do I think is gonna make it far? Gonna say Alabama. I mean, that's you threw me a fastball and I'm sending that out of the park. I think Alabama, they not only have the players have bought in, but they have the coach who's willing to, any hot hand is the hot hand. It isn't, if we don't have this guy going off, everybody just give up. And you see that sometimes in college teams that coaches under recruited because they have one guy that they really believe in and everybody else is just a role player. It looks like any given night with Alabama, anybody can be the guy. And I never got to coach Jamison Johnson, and I personally don't care for Kentucky. I'm more of a John Calipari guy. So now that he's at Arkansas, I like Arkansas, but Jamison Johnson is like my ideal big, somebody who can do it all. And I don't believe in playing through one player, but if I had the chance to coach him, I'd probably coach through strictly him and let everybody else fall in the line.
Yeah, definitely, Coach. And kind of a question I think a lot of people would like to know is that we know you coach in the DMV already. So how interested are you in potentially inheriting that Virginia job after this season?
I make this joke often, but behind all good jokes contain truth. But they got to roll out the Brinks truck for me. I don't want to just take any job as my first college job. I understand that more than likely I'll have to start at a lower level, and a team like Virginia is probably going to want a more experienced college coach over an experienced prep coach. But it'll take a lot for me to leave these kids. Like I said, I try and treat everybody like they're a part of my family. I've adopted most of the guys on this year's roster, so I wouldn't just want to leave guys that I brought in that I feel like are a part of my extended family. Now, if Virginia were to offer me certain things and make me certain guarantees, I would in fact take the job.
Okay. Definitely something that's been on people's minds, a lot of people's minds. But before we close off this episode, I just have a quick question from one East Coaster to another, and that's New York style or Chicago style pizza?
Don't ever disrespect me by bringing up a piece of cake. That the Chicago pizza isn't even pizza. I'm literally disgusted that this is being brought up. I cannot even believe this is being asked of me. First off, New York style pizza is the only style pizza. Everything else is a variation of what they believe is trash. If you bring me a Chicago style pizza, you might as well slap my mom in front of me because we're gonna fight.
Had a feeling you'd answer very similarly to the way you did. So
hey, New York style pizza is on an entirely different level of its own. I will give you that.
It's not close.
Anybody
who tells you it's close, they're lying to you.
Exactly.
It's not close.
Well, all right, that's going to do it for all the time we have on the show today. Coach Drayton, it's always a pleasure talking to you. Thank you for joining. We hope to have you back on some point in the near future.
Hey, I love being on here.
Yeah, thank you for joining us, Coach.
All right, y'all.
Appreciate you guys, man.
Yeah, you as well, Coach. You as well. This has been the J-Rock Show from Jason J.K. Candell and the Cowboy J.R. Storm. Thank you all for tuning in. See you next week. And as always, see the game, be the game.